Told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G. Told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G. I'm in Cali every week. I go hard.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from New Haven, Connecticut. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up. Well, Uncle Lou, here we are.
How's it going, Joe?
After a week off, we're back here on Cannabis
Happy
Corner.
Memorial Day, all that awesomeness.
Oh, yeah, it was Memorial Day, that's right.
Weather is getting warm.
Finally getting nice out.
The sun is shining on all those wonderful, wonderful plants in the world. It's a beautiful
The plants
thing.
in the field these days.
Yeah, my brother Joe. How are you?
Well, I'm all right.
Nice. I was very happy. I came down to see you the other day at Go-Go Joe's.
That was
I
nice.
snagged myself a cup of tea and those little caramels were good.
Yeah, I like the
Those are pretty
caramels.
cool.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. talking
Little
about.
CBD caramels with caffeine or
Those things were
melatonin.
pretty good. I did the caffeine one. It was daytime still. I wasn't trying to put myself out.
I always do the caffeine ones.
Yeah, so John, we got a lot going on today, don't we?
Yeah, we got a lot going on.
We have some guests going on.
We got everything and nothing.
Yeah, everything and nothing.
In the state of Connecticut
man.
here.
Lots of good things, though, Joe. That's where we're at.
Well, yeah, I think we need to focus on the positive. I mean, I'm sure by now everybody has heard, at least as of today,
Mm-hmm.
there's still 3 days less in the session, but at least as of today, it looks like legalized cannabis will not be voted on this session.
It looks like that, and there's a lot of things that are going on, and we really tried to get behind it. And, if you jump on the internet and you can kind of see everybody talking about it, and a couple people chiming in and putting their opinions out there, which are absolutely awesome because it's great to know where we stand. But at the same time, we have a lot of great things that are going on as well.
Yeah.
A lot of great things in the state and some wins as well, as our medical program is expanding. We have more
Well, I
medical
do have some news on the medical program.
Yeah, we have some medical program expanding. We have new dispensaries opening up. I got to visit 2 of the new dispensaries, and I just stopped.
You went to the Meriden one, and what was
Yeah.
the other one?
I stopped down by New Haven. They're not open yet, but
Oh, did you see Brian down there?
yeah, stopped and talked to Brian.
How's it
for a
look?
little bit. It looks good so far.
Looks
so,
nice.
Yeah, so
Very cool. That's our friends down there in
Yep, a lot
Whaley
of good
Avenue.
people, a
What's
lot
the
of
name
good
of this place
places.
again?
I apologize. I'm offhand. I forget.
But yeah, that's opening up. I think he said this weekend.
Yep.
This week.
Hopefully by the end of the week,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So that'll be a location for easy
Yeah, I mean-
access here in the here in the city of New Haven. At least that's a big thing.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
important.
So having that access right on a main road, right in the middle of the city, is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, and I think the thing we all got to remember is, and by the way, I do have some news about the medical program.
Mm-hmm.
Today, they had a hearing, with the doctors, a
Mhm.
meeting of the doctors, the medical board of the DCP and the medical marijuana program to add those new conditions. One of them being chronic pain,
Mm-hmm.
which they did not add.
Oh man.
They tabled it again. This is like the 3rd time they have tabled it, Uncle Lou. Apparently, and D'Souza wasn't even there. There was one dissenting vote that allowed it to be tabled. So they put on the nerve pain, like that, fibromyalgia. They put that in there, and they put everything else except chronic pain because they knew that would include the opioid abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still fighting that. They're still fighting that. So they tabled it.
Fibromyalgia is big though.
Fibromyalgia is big. We got some wins, at least on the medical program. I mean, obviously there's still a couple things they're trying to get through in the legislative session, I believe, to lower the fees and things like that. But all in all, there's one thing I have noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this too. Now that the legislator has come out and says they're not going to vote on legalization, a lot of positive press has come out about legalization. So we had a bishop. Remember how they said the clergy was the ones who determined? Well, then we had a bishop come out and say, no, we need to legalize weed.
Right from the radio listening
area from Hamden.
Right in Hamden.
Yes. A bishop came right out and said, no, I think we need to legalize marijuana. Then a week later, a doctor in Connecticut came out and said,
here.
We
this is all
need,
for here.
Yeah,
yes.
all for here. We need to legalize marijuana in Connecticut. And then, most recently there was a big story about how now that legalization isn't going through, that the black market is going to start thriving again.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah,
no legal weed
in a
black market.
Yeah,
I wonder why there's a black market, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
right.
Because there's not a legal market.
Yeah.
Maybe, Joe.
So you get to the point where you're wondering, all right, so what is the problem here in Connecticut? Because you also know, right? Summer's coming up.
Oh yeah.
People are going to be taking a lot of little day trips around New England.
Yeah.
Now, where are you going to go?
Where
are you
going to
go if you
Joe.
Right, Massachusetts
Joe,
or Maine,
Joe,
right?
I'm going to Massachusetts, Joe.
Right, and anybody coming up from New York who wants to hit
sending
New
all
England,
that money up there.
Massachusetts. They're not going to choose Connecticut anymore, casino or not.
I don't need
because
to.
There's a casino in Mass now.
I don't need to, Joe.
Yeah.
I'll take an extra 20-minute ride into Massachusetts and go to the MGM.
Yeah. And so now all this money that could have been flowing into Connecticut from other states,
I think
New
I'm going to
York,
have to go to Maine.
New Jersey, people would have come into Connecticut. Now they're going to go to Mass.
They're
going to go to
up
Maine.
that way.
Yeah. And this is now they're talking the way they think that this is how they have no confidence in themselves to get anything done. And personally, I think had they put a different type of bill in, it might have got passed, like a Vermont style bill. It might have got passed because it would have Republican support.
Lots of Republican support.
Yeah. So personally, I think they screwed up. They know it.
Okay.
And now they think the only way they can get it in is through public vote referendum. Now, do you know what it takes to get a public vote referendum pushed through here in Connecticut just to do it? Because we don't have that here.
We don't have it here.
They have to make a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to take 2 years just to do this.
Yep.
This year, they have to vote to make the amendment.
Yep.
Next year, they have to actually make the amendment.
Yep.
Then the year after, they actually have to hold the vote. And then it would take a year to put in the regulations. We're talking 2022 before we have legalized cannabis in this state, if they go this route. I personally think they should just forget it and try again next year with a Vermont bill. And just let it, if they're not going to vote this year.
Well, we'll be here fighting next year, so we'd definitely be there.
Speak for yourself, Uncle Lou. Speak for yourself.
I get you, Joe. I know that you're rough.
I don't want to
be
talk
here.
to
We're
them
going to keep doing it. You know
I'll
what
do
I
it
mean?
by phone, bro.
I got you.
I'll send emails.
I appreciate
but
you.
It's just, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think we have to look at the positive things
Yes,
now.
sir.
We still have a medical program here that is expanding.
Yes.
They've added conditions. They're possibly going to lower the fees.
Yes.
We have 9 new dispensaries opening. So there is some positive things happening on the medical side, and I believe now there's gonna be enough pressure on them to actually put opioids within the next year and the chronic pain, the whole thing. I think they really are going to have to expand it.
Joe, they have to.
Not only with pressure from the patients, but pressure from the industry within itself. Because let's be real, the growers and the dispensaries here lost as much as we did by legalization not going through.
Yeah.
Because they were poised to join in and make some money on it.
Oh, yeah.
And now this is money that they have all lost. And now they need to expand the program so they can at least expand in that way. Because you don't want the state to get stagnant. If you're talking this amount of time it's going to take before they get recreational,
they're going to need to at least add
they're gonna have
2 or 3 new conditions every year.
New
up
growers.
till that part. Even if they don't add the new grower portion, they'll see that it gets stretched. There's going to be some growing pains, but at the same time, it's going to leave a little bit of room for ancillary services, I believe.
I would like to see them license now, and somebody did propose this in this article, license some smaller growers.
Yep.
Not make it so expensive for the medical.
Yep.
So that we could have a little variety in the medical program, which it's very creative. I don't think these four monopoly guys will like it or go for it, but there's no contract with them
Here,
that says
Joe,
they
I'll
have
give
to
you
be.
a free piece of information if I throw it out there.
What's that?
Wait till you get to the point. Now that I'm working in the agricultural field, one day, and it might happen, these four growers might get together and say, we're going to open up a nursery. Currently, we use 500 square feet of our own facilities just doing cuttings and clonings and starting seeds. But if we went into a 20,000 square foot facility, we each get our own rooms back. You know, what's to say that the fifth grower that they license isn't necessarily just a genetic nursery now?
It could be.
Maybe they don't want to deal with the. There's so many options. There's
There
so
is
many
options,
ways,
but
and we're not exploring them at all.
No, well, from my experience with the Connecticut legislature, they're not very creative.
No.
They're not very creative at all. They really, I mean, if I look at what they've even put in so far and what they're looking to put in, not one single thing is a revenue generator. It's all something that takes revenue away from one area of the population or another. So you pass $15 an hour minimum wage, yes, that adds money to the lower income worker, but it takes money away from the business owner and the small business. There's no money that they're not. There's no generating.
There was
factor.
very little generating factors for a lot of things,
and then the tolls.
And that goes into You're right with that, Joe, and that free phone calls for inmates.
Free phone calls for styrofoam, banning styrofoam. I heard they spent a whole night on worrying about banning plastic or paper straws.
Yeah,
but they, so these are the things that they worry about instead of the important things that could actually bring money in to the state. In other words, everything they look at looks to take something away. Oh, we're going to take away styrofoam containers now. Okay, that's good for the environment, but whoever's using styrofoam containers now is going to have to pay more for their containers and probably charge more for their food now.
Yep.
Okay, so you're taking away that. The pay plastic bags in the stores. Okay, that's fine. It's good for the environment, and that's fine. But you know what? Now you want to charge 10 cents a bag, so that's going to cost the consumer now 10 cents more a bag. And it's going to cost the grocery stores a lot more because they got to come up with an alternative. So everything, and the tolls don't make any money for anyone. No, only the construction company in the state who puts it in. Once they're in, that's it. Easy Pass makes all the money, and the state makes all the money. There's no opportunity for the consumer to make money. It's just taking more money out of our pockets.
Yeah, Joe.
So anyway,
they're greedy.
Yeah.
They're greedy.
This is just the Democratic way. So what I see.
Joe came in here with a chip on his shoulder.
Well, yeah, I definitely do have a chip on my shoulder.
But other than that, there was a lot of really cool things that are happening in the world today. There's a lot of hemp things going on. There was the Freddie Fixer was yesterday, which
that
I
was
heard
cool.
Which I heard went very
Canna
well.
Health was down there.
Canna Health was representing. It was very
there.
nice. The Puerto Rican Day Parade up in Hartford was going very well.
Yeah.
It was very cannabis friendly. There was a lot of cannabis flags flying going on there.
Yeah, good.
Spent a couple days in the nursery because
tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Hemp is
over
going
there.
on, so they put out the licenses for hemp, and we have been working to get seeds in the ground, which seeds are in the starter in the greenhouse. They look absolutely
I know. I was
gorgeous.
happy. I was lucky to be able to plant some
Joe
of them.
came down. Those seeds are propagated. They're little
They're
popping.
about that big,
yes,
right?
sir. They're popped up. They look great. I was over there today. And this hemp will go out to market to become CBD. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about a little bit about that.
And today's guest is hemp.
Is Aaron
person.
Romano?
Is
Yeah,
Aaron
he's
Romano?
actually the guy who helped get him. I'm going to let him explain how he put a fire under the legislators' butts to even get it on the agenda for this year, because originally it wasn't going to be. But he'll explain how that happened. But yeah, legalizing hemp is, I've said, is the one good thing. Well, they didn't legalize it. They legalized it here in 2014, actually. Regulating hemp is the one good thing that they did this year that at least will generate money. That helps out the Connecticut citizen. That doesn't take money out of his pocket. It is a way for farmers.
Farmers, yes.
Now, we're talking, I know at least where you're growing, these are places that kind of had a lot of extra space because the demand for whatever they were growing before had lessened.
Correct.
So
a
they
lot
had
of
extra
these-
space. They didn't know what the heck to grow. Like, they don't know what sells anymore, right?
Well, it's not necessarily what there just isn't that push for those
Right.
sales realistically, you know. And then you get the big box stores that kind of fill up that supply for a lot of people.
You know, I've even noticed myself at the farmers markets, there's less and less vendors.
Yeah.
So that means there's less and less farmers.
Right.
So what are they going to do with this space? Well, I understand now a lot of them are applying for hemp licenses,
Yes.
which are going to be administered through the Department of Agriculture.
Correct.
So we've got a bunch of these hemp farms popping up around Connecticut. And, you know, these are places that last year had nothing going on.
Correct.
So now this year, they got something going on.
Yeah.
And by the end of the summer, there's going to be a crop out there. There's going to be some producers making CBD.
Yep.
There's going to be some growers buying it up. From,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
from what I understand, that, you know, one of the larger growers is looking to buy up a ton of the industrial hemp made here in Connecticut
Mm-hmm.
to make CBD out of. You know, and so in one way, it's going to revitalize the farming industry, at least here in Connecticut. And I applaud them, and I applaud the senators who put that through in the beginning, and then the House who voted on it. But the Senate actually got the original bill through, and I applaud the senators who did that. Maybe that's the way to go, is go through the Senate first. I don't know, but
Yeah. It's a lot, you know. Even when it gets through the Senate, it was that bipartisan.
it was a bipartisan push, right?
That's what the biggest.
Nobody
part of
could
it is.
argue against it. You know, there wasn't a lot of argument against hemp.
There isn't. No.
You know, because it's such an industrial product. It's such a heritage product in
It
this
is.
country.
You know,
you
the
have to
$10 bill used to be printed on
I
hemp.
saw that. And,
You
you know, they
know?
showed a little hemp farm right on there.
Mhm.
So we know that it's a heritage crop in this country. And I think it's a good thing that not only here in Connecticut, but nationwide, it is now starting to become, and you read the articles, it's not just Connecticut.
It's mainstream, sir.
Every state, almost every state, now has a hemp program.
Yep.
And there's a lot of growing of hemp going on. So I'm hoping within the next 5 years, you won't have to worry about plastic bags because they're going
No.
to be made of hemp.
That's right.
You won't have to be worried about straws because they're going to be made of hemp.
Yes, sir.
You won't have to be worried about like concrete
Nope.
walls, foundations
All hemp.
cracking
Let me
because they'll be
grow it.
made of hemp.
And I'll
You
grow
know,
it for you, Joe.
And clothing, you know, you can start making things out of hemp. Now, finally, after years.
Years, Joe, because this was a crop that was a huge commodity. Like you said, it's a heritage crop. Our military used to use this fiber
To make sails and rope.
Exactly, sails, rope, parachutes, any fiber.
Yeah.
You know, and so once it was outlawed,
Yeah.
we just keep spreading that information.
Well, it was outlawed, and I don't want to get into the whole,
Yep,
you know,
we
the
just keep spreading that
conspiracy.
information,
It's
but,
not
you
even
know.
a conspiracy, but just the whole reason why it was outlawed to make sure that certain people got rich.
yeah.
You know, what I mean?
But other than that, we will have a hemp class coming to the Grove
yeah,
soon.
have a hemp. Yeah, we might as well. We got to have a hemp class.
We're gonna have
now.
hemp classes coming down to the Grove where you can actually come down and see some of the farm a little bit.
Yeah.
We had our cooking class, our cooking with CBD class
That
a couple
was over
weeks
the-
ago,
yeah,
which was
Memorial.
also nice.
Yeah.
So you'll see more and more CBD coming out. You know, Joe, and it's a huge thing, and it's becoming a large, well-known supplement throughout the ages. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, yeah, and then there's one thing I wanted to touch on before Aaron gets on the air, and I think we'll discuss it a little more maybe with him, but once you get off. You want to talk about Connecticut not legalizing. How about Illinois?
Oh man,
Man.
out the woodworks.
Illinois, out of the blue.
Yep,
Boom. And they put together a pretty
it is
decent
a very decent
bill.
legalization.
You know,
bill.
they didn't do home grow, but what they did was something interesting. They decriminalized it
Mm-hmm.
so that if you get caught growing weed, it's only a fine,
Yeah.
which is interesting. And they have home grow for patients.
Yep.
But if you're not a patient and you get caught growing it, they only made it a fine, which is very interesting.
It's awesome.
And they put a large social equity bill
Yes, sir.
portion in there. It allows for people over to 21 to consume, possess, and purchase certain amount of cannabis for over, let's see, expunging the records for possession of over 30 grams or less, which is That's like an ounce. That's like the
It's
ounce
the
and
same
a half.
number we were
it's
at.
not. It's not much different. And they're allowing them to petition from anywhere from 30 to 500 grams of cannabis, though.
They
So
can
automatic expungement for 30, petition for anywhere from 30 to 500. Not bad. Not bad. Let's see. Anything less, any flower with less than 35% THC would be taxed at 10%. Cannabis infused products would be taxed at 20%.
Look at that.
And marijuana products with more than 35%, they're talking concentrates, 25% tax. So that means $100 gram is going to cost you $125 after the tax.
Hey, so
Plus the sales tax, the 6.5 sales tax, plus the municipality is allowed to take 3.5. So they got a 10% tax right off the bat to the state.
It'll keep the medical program alive.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Basically, what they're saying is, in Illinois, it's going to be expensive. And it passed through on a 38-17 vote. And then it did pass the House. When this article was written, it hadn't, but it did, and it's going to the governor's desk. And it is poised to become the first state in the nation that put equity and criminal justice reform as the heart of this approach to legalizing cannabis. So, you know, this just shows that now Connecticut is supposed to be more progressive than Illinois. I mean, really.
But they're not.
But they're not. They're proven not to be. So out of the blue, I didn't even know that Illinois had a bill up. Out of the blue, they passed it, went to the House, to the Senate, straight to the House. It's on the governor's desk.
It was almost like a week, and that was
process it. Well, they've been going through it, but it hasn't been that publicity. All right, let me do a little paying of the bills before Aaron comes on. Aaron, we do know you're here. We'll be talking to you in 1 second. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com, New Haven Independent, or go to your Facebook page and look us up. Aaron Romano, are you here?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello,
How are
sir.
you, Aaron? Good talking to you. Good hearing from you.
Yeah, good talking to you, too. I'm all recharged. I just came back from Aspen from the normal legal committee conference.
Oh, and how did that go?
Fantastic. A number of lawyers from around the nation who are members of the normal legal committee got together. We exchanged ideas, gave each other new ideas, and I gave them my model for challenging cannabis prohibition. So I think we're going to see impact litigation around the country that's modeled after the case that we have in Connecticut currently.
Right. Very good. Can you explain a little bit about that case real quick?
Sure. If your listeners remember, I had a client who was charged, and he was a medical patient, and he was charged with selling some weed. He had initially about 16 pounds or so, and I got him a probation deal, and then soon after being on probation, he violated it because he had more than the allotted amount that a patient is permitted to have. So we contested the underlying law. We explored its origins, and we traced it back to Harry Anslinger in Harry Anslinger's draft of the Uniform Narcotic Drug Act.
Right.
And for those of your listeners who are unaware of who Harry Anslinger is, he was the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics right after Prohibition, and he's the one who got the cannabis prohibition started. And the reason for it was basically as a Jim Crow law. So it was designed to further disenfranchise blacks, and at that point, Mexican Americans as well, from being able to vote and participate in the political process.
Right, and that kind of that process and that policy has been carried on ever since.
It certainly has.
And
even what we've seen is back then it was designed to prevent black people and Mexicans from voting by them getting criminal convictions. It was a law designed only to affect minority populations. White people at the time were not using cannabis. They knew it as a medicine, but in terms of adult use, how we refer to it, it just wasn't being.
They didn't know how to use it until the government told them they could.
Right,
Until
and
William
we're seeing
Randolph
now
Hearst told them they
arrest rates.
could.
We did we did a statistical research on this. Arrest rates in Connecticut, at least, for blacks versus whites for cannabis possession or possession with intent to sell are at a rate of 4 times as high. Blacks are arrested at a rate 4 times as high as whites, even though white people use it at a slightly higher rate.
And the population here is much, the percentage of black to white is much lower.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, we know this has been happening for years. Richard Nixon reinforced it in 1970 with this whole scheduling act, the Controlled Substances Act, and we finally get to the point here in 2019, 2012. It really started where states were starting to reverse this prohibition, reverse the damage that had been done, and we get to have an opportunity to do it here in Connecticut, and it all falls through.
Well, it's interesting you should characterize it that way, Joe, because I really don't necessarily see states as taking the initiative to reverse.
Well, not the damages, no, just reverse prohibition.
Policing. I think it's more like the states were looking at opportunities to make money.
Yeah. And
I think the issue you're bringing up now is one that I think prevented Connecticut's, one of the reasons why Connecticut's cannabis legalization didn't go through. I don't think the legislators could wrap their heads around this whole idea of equity that we've been fighting for.
I totally agree with you. I think that was the one piece that a lot of these people who were on the fence or who were refusing to vote yes, didn't get. They just didn't understand. I mean, maybe you can explain it better, A, the reason for it, or A, what it really meant. What they really meant by that part of the law.
Well, I guess to simplify it, and you see, the thing is that it's a hard concept to wrap your head around if you don't understand the history behind it. And I was making, attempts at making sure people understood the history. I did a lecture circuit throughout Connecticut with a PowerPoint presentation that went through our case, similar to the one I just did for the lawyers over in Aspen, except the one with the lawyers in Aspen, I actually gave them the tools so they could walk away and fight the case the same way that I did. But the whole notion of equity is to basically correct the wrongs of the past. And here's a rare opportunity in history where we really can do that.
Right.
We saw that after slavery, black people were promised 40 acres and a mule. That never happened.
Right.
And there have yet to be reparations for slavery in the United States. And we know that the country couldn't be what it is now without the toil and the hardship and the death of all the slaves that were brought here, kidnapped and brought here against their will and forced to work.
Right.
And that really was the foundation for our country. Basically, its industry being built upon the backs of slaves. And so once we understand, we see that concept itself, and we understand that cannabis prohibition was a Jim Crow law that was further designed to alienate blacks and disenfranchise them from participation in the public arena. We have to take a look at what the effects of cannabis prohibition was. And once we learn, and the statistics are there, they're undeniable, that blacks are arrested at a rate 4 times as high as whites, you then can perform an analysis where you say, okay, well, how does that affect the black community? Well, how does that affect a black family? There could be a parent who's incarcerated, who's not working. How does that affect that individual's life? The difficulty that may occur in terms of them trying to get work. At one point, it was a bar for student aid. We can see the disintegration of the family, and then from the family to communities, and unavailability of educational resources and certainly employment resources as a result of these convictions. And what we're seeking to do with equity is make sure that minority communities who have been hit hardest will have an opportunity, will have a legitimate opportunity to be some of the first people involved in making money off of the business, so making money off of something that has hurt them.
Right.
So we're trying to give them ownership interest, a solid ownership interest in this rare opportunity that we all have. And what the legislature essentially did was they now said, screw you guys, we're not doing what you want. Instead, we'll just keep the monopoly going. And
Right.
so what they're going to do, and I can see this coming, is they're simply going to expand the medical program so that you can eventually get into the medical program for neuropathy, for chronic pain. Right now, we already have migraines. They're going to basically expand it so virtually anyone will qualify. And then the current stakeholders, who are the industrial capitalists, will end up making all the money.
Right.
And that's why there are no grow rights, and that's why there's no legalization, and that's why there's no equity, because the legislature is ensuring that the monopoly is maintaining their control over the industry.
Yeah.
Simply put.
And and for them, I guess it's easier to do nothing and keep it the way it is, and just keep lining the pockets of the same people whose pockets have been lined over the last 4 years.
Well, I think they have an extremely strong lobby in order to maintain this monopoly.
So you're saying that part of the reason is that the growers and the existing industry here in Connecticut actually rallied and lobbied against legalization if they saw that it wasn't going to go the way they wanted it?
Well, part of the equity piece that, or the model that we were pushing for, when I say we, Normal and
Right,
Cure,
all of us,
who are
right.
really the major lobbyists or advocates toward legalization, we were demanding that the way the bill was drafted said that the current monopoly or license holders would have first dibs on legalization.
Right, on the industry.
And then minority ownership would be integrated in afterwards.
We got that changed, though.
Yeah, we challenged that. Why?
Right.
Why does it have to be that way? That's clearly that's to ensure that the current stakeholders get all the money that we've seen, in our neighboring states. Initially, the rush that people engage in to go in and purchase their first bag or their first piece of legal cannabis, I think there's a thrill, and many people who ordinarily would not buy will go out for the first time and buy. And so there's going to be an initial influx of purchasing that's going to happen, and then it's going to kind of wane. But they want to make sure that the initial stakeholders get that benefit of having that initial wave
Right.
of interest in the legal market.
And that's interesting. Why would they care, Unless
because we saw
their
in the
pockets
first
are getting lined.
I can't remember the statistics, but it was in the first week up in Northampton they made several
Right.
$1 million.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, what I'm saying is, why do the legislators care if the big companies make money?
Well, I think the only reason the legislators can care is because,
Yeah.
look, they know that 70% of the population is in favor of legalization.
Right.
So what is the thing that would stop them? In my opinion, the only thing that would stop them is the lobby
Right.
from the
I agree.
from the current stakeholders. I mean, do I have proof? Have I heard a conversation? Have I seen a memo? No. But
Right.
you can just put it together. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what interests they have in mind. Because if their interest was legalization for the individual,
They just legalize like
then
Vermont.
you legalize cultivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd say you can grow as much as you want because, in the end, if you want to get rid of an illicit market,
Right.
the only way to do that is to allow people to possess as much as they want.
Right.
Then there truly is no incentive to engage in an illicit market.
Yeah. Exactly right. No, it's not about. It's always been about money for them.
Yeah.
And now they don't. Now it looks like the way. And to me, and I don't know what you think about this whole referendum idea. It would take 3 years just to get done. I mean, I think that's just like smoke and mirrors. I just think that's not going to happen.
Well, I think the referendum, Ian, it's interesting because about 10 years ago, there was an opportunity for there to be a constitutional convention. And there were a number of people who got together, including myself, who were campaigning for a constitutional convention to add a ballot initiative to Connecticut's constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do that, then, we won't face a situation where there are political hot potatoes that the legislature wants to punt. They don't want to address because they're scared of the way voters are going to react.
Right.
And it's funny because the only people who were supporting it were Republicans. No Democrats wanted to allow the population to vote on potential laws. They said, well, what if they pass a law banning gay marriage?
Oh,
And,
well.
well, this is what happens. So if a law is passed that is unconstitutional, and the law is, sorry about that, guys.
You got a visitor.
Hold on a sec. The law is unconstitutional. The courts will take care of that.
Right.
Yes.
That's what checks and balances is for.
Right. And plus, it's up to the legislator what goes on for referendum anyway. They have to have you have to have a petition that has to be signed by a certain amount of people to get a bill even up for a referendum. So unconstitutional laws most likely will not even get through that first part to get on the ballot for referendum. I've never, unless you're in, Mississippi or one of those states down there. But yeah, obviously it's the Democrats who don't want to give up the control. So, well, Aaron, we've discussed about the negative
Sorry
thing.
about that. I had to corral the hounds.
I got you.
Yeah.
So we've discussed the negative things that's going on here in Connecticut about the legalization. And what's your opinion? Are they ever going to get this done, or are they just waiting for the feds?
I don't see. I think the ballot initiative is a good idea in general, but I think in order to get a constitutional amendment for a ballot initiative, that would require those who are in favor of it compromising. Many of them, I think, would say that they're compromising their beliefs in order to build bridges with Republicans who would also be in favor of it but oppose legalization.
Right.
I see it important to create political allies where there are commonalities, and then where there are none, then you address it in the appropriate arena. But if we can get Republicans on board for a ballot initiative, then let's do it. I think there are many issues aside from legalization that can be addressed through ballot initiatives and finally give power back to the people. And I think that's what's lacking in Connecticut.
Yeah, I agree.
Is a participation in the political process where the legislators are actually doing the will of the people. They're not leaders. Legislators are not leaders. They are our representatives.
Right.
They must act according to the will of their voters.
But they're not.
Right. They're acting as if they are leaders or rulers or they're part of the executive branch, and that's just not the way our government works.
That's not the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it's working here in Connecticut, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I see the difference after working in Mass. And
people just accept it.
Public participation in the legalization process was so much more in Massachusetts because the people knew that their vote was going to matter. Here in Connecticut, you can't. And I know I've discussed this with most of us, and I'm sure you'll agree with us that the legislators here get tired of hearing from the same 12, 13, 15 people all the time. Public support, as far as people coming out and actually doing something about legalization, is very small here in this state. And I do believe it's because people feel powerless, that they don't, because they haven't never had that power of a vote to put it in for themselves. They don't get excited about something unless they think it's like the tolls. They think it's going to take money out of their pocket.
Right. And you know what, Joe? The biggest danger is what I think they're going to do now, which would be the expansion of the medical program. Now, I say that's the biggest danger is because there will be, right now it's 30,000 plus, but so that's like potentially 30,000 plus people who will just be like, I have my card. I can go to the store. I can get it when I want. It doesn't matter to me.
Screw the rest of them. And I think that's part of the problem, too. Those 30,000 probably didn't come out voting for legalization either.
No, where were the 30,000?
We're
talking about
they?
patient grow rights. We're talking about being able to break your bonds from the monopoly.
Right.
We're talking about becoming independent from that. We're about getting cleaner, better quality medicine that you can have at regular intervals, not where the dispensary's not carrying it.
Right, more access
that's
to
what we're
it.
talking. We're talking about being independent. How many people in the program feel dependent on doctors, dependent on the pharmacists, dependent on the dispensaries? To be in the program is not something that anyone wants.
No.
No one wants those conditions. Okay? And once you're in the program, you're somewhat dependent on this medicine. But I think psychologically, it's very important for some people to gain a sense of independence.
Right.
Through the use of cannabis. And that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to give you, if you're ill, it's supposed to give you a better quality of life and help you function. And if you have to constantly think about the several $100s a week you've got to go to the store to get your medicine for, that's not independence, that's dependence.
Right. That's true. But I don't think they're not interested in our independence, They would rather have us.
Well, I think the patients need to speak up. I think this is it. We have enough people collectively who, if they spoke out and they said, we are not happy with this. We want patient grow rights.
Yeah, that would be a great addition.
We want it now.
And honestly, Aaron, and unfortunately, I think this was the Democrats' big mistake this year, was not including the Republicans in the process, because I spoke to quite a few, and they were pro-legalization as long as it was a Vermont-style legalization with home grow rights, and just stop arresting people for it, allow possession and home grow rights. So they by not even thinking about that option, by going 100% into the one option that they had, they totally, they blew it. They probably could have, had they consulted with the Republicans, at least gotten that Vermont thing through. It would have been something.
Well, I think it is really interesting how politics are played here in Connecticut. Everyone assumes that. I think from the Democratic side, if you have conversations with them, many people abhor, and I use that word because I want to express how deeply they have a hatred for Republicans. They look to Washington and they think that Connecticut Republicans represent the desires and the will of the Trump administration. And,
they really don't.
I think some Republicans do.
Yeah, but
I think
minority.
for the most part, Connecticut Republicans are folks who are fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I think many Republicans are on the side of reproductive rights, but they just don't agree with the amount of government spending. They want reform in that respect.
Right.
So I think for us to start using, us and them, an us and them paradigm is not the way to go. We have to look for the commonalities. And like you're suggesting, Joe, the Dems who are in favor, they should have been active in creating a coalition
bipartisan,
across party lines to get this through.
Yeah. We tried. We tried as activists. We met with the Republicans because we knew it's important. And the way politics, and it's a shame, the way politics are up there, though, from what we understand, they've just been totally cut out of the process. The Republicans have just been totally cut out of the process. And I think it was a huge mistake by the Democrats to do that. But
I think the way people can be heard, honestly, is to, if you're a patient, to boycott the program.
Yeah, but then would you go back to the black market, drive to Massachusetts?
I cannot, as an attorney, I cannot suggest that you go to the black market or the illicit.
Right.
We have to call it the illicit market.
That's true.
I cannot
the illicit
suggest
market.
that you go to the illicit market.
It's been kind of dry out there, though.
All I'm suggesting is boycotting the program. So use
whatever you can.
Other medicines, boycott the program, because that's when they're the stakeholders, the monopoly. They're the stakeholders. When they feel it in their pockets, that's when they're going to complain.
Right. Well, on a good note, real quick before we let you go, hemp is now legal in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Now regulated. It was legal since 2014, but now regulated in Connecticut on a pilot program.
That has been my position, and it was 4 years in the making when I finally filed the lawsuit against the Department of Agriculture.
Right.
And ultimately, I think the lawsuit forced them
That's
to come
what got
forward
them.
with regs.
Yeah.
And the timing was perfect with the federal farm bill, with the revisions. And my understanding is there are a lot of folks who are getting involved with hemp farming, and I wish all of them the best of success. And I hope this helps save our farms and saves our natural resources and educates other Connecticut citizens about cannabis and hemp and its benefits.
Right. So people, look at the positive. We may not get legalization this year, but if you were interested in getting into the industry, put your foot in the door with hemp. At least there's a way to get started.
Everyone should.
Yeah, at least get your foot in the door with
Everyone
hemp
should.
now.
And if you don't have a piece of land, you need to call someone who is working on a piece of land.
Go work
you can
with
help
them.
them.
Yeah.
There are plenty of opportunities to get involved.
Yeah,
Go to the
especially
NORML
this summer.
page,
Yeah.
Go to the Facebook page for NORML, and you'll meet wonderful, wonderful people.
Yep. And
who will help you out.
From what I understand, there's 16 to 20 applications have been put in. Most of them have been approved already. So there's quite a few farms going up. So there's
I'm very excited at the process.
And right in this area too. So definitely contact us. All right, Aaron, how do they get in touch with you if they ever need any legal advice?
Sure. So I can be found in Bloomfield. You can go to my website, attorneyaaronromano.com. You can also just Google search me, Aaron Romano, and it's Romano. And my telephone number is 860-286-9026.
All right.
860-286-9026. And I'd be willing to have a conversation with anyone to help them out. Okay?
Excellent, Aaron. As always, thank you so much for your wisdom
my pleasure.
And insight, and we'll see you out there on the field.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Aaron. Have a great day.
Take care, buddy. All right, Uncle Lou. Quite an insightful conversation, as always, with Aaron.
He is always a world of knowledge.
Yep. So that's where we stand these days. I think he hit it right on the head that the legislators here could not wrap their head around equity, just like what happened in New Jersey, just like what happened in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It is a progressive concept, and it's not something that everybody does get. And unfortunately, a lot of the legislators up there in Connecticut are still old school, like we say, Flintstones, Jetsons, right? Yabba dabba doo up there.
Exactly.
So, before we wrap up, I wanted to go over...
pay the bills one more time.
Gotta pay the bills, and we'll go over the events. Let's go over the events real quick. So, on this Wednesday, we have the Medical Marijuana Discussion Group down at the Grove, 158 Bridgeport Avenue in Milford. That starts at 7. That's this Wednesday. Come on down, talk to the pharmacist. I'll be down there leading the group. If you need any advice about your medical marijuana, or if you just want to talk about how you've been doing on the program, it's a great place to come and vent and meet new people. And then on the 19th, we have the Connecticut Normal meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the last one before September. We usually take the summer off.
Yes, sir.
So that'll be at the newly opened Cellar on 195 Treadwell Avenue in Hamden, and that also starts at 7. So anybody who wants to come down and hear the final updates on legalization and where we're going to be headed for next year, we should know a little bit more by then. We are going to be out this year at the conference, the NECAN conference in Springfield, and we'll be at the Oyster Festival. So Normal is not going away. We're just trying to regroup and figure out what we're going to do now here in this state that we live in. And Canna Health in Milford will be open this Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. So if anybody needs to get their medical marijuana card, give us a call, 203-301-4006, and you can check that out. Go visit cannahealth.com if you want to make an appointment online. Uncle Lou, anything for you? Any events coming up?
Nothing extra special coming up. Just doing the normal things with you, Joe the Weed Guy. Enjoying life. We will also...
Next week, I'm on vacation.
That's right.
You're going to be all good?
Yeah, we'll make it work, brother. We'll make it work.
I'm going. You know where I'm going.
Yes, sir. Sunshine and daydreams. It's a beautiful thing. But coming up, we'll also have news for when you get back. We'll do a small studio opening down at the Grove. They have so many great things all over the walls there.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
going to be a networking event, and we'll just keep doing our beautiful
We're gonna have
little
some tours of the
That's
new hemp
right.
farm going up.
Yep,
We'll
it's
talk.
pretty
I
excited.
think when I come back, let's really focus on what's going to happen at the hemp farm. Hemp farms going around, because we can't talk about legalization. Maybe we can show pictures. You know,
we'll
I
get a
don't
whole
know,
bunch going
progress
on.
reports.
There's a lot of things going on, Joe. So
Yeah.
there's going to be so much for us to do.
All right,
But we have to pay the bills, Joe.
and say goodbye. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent, or go to your Facebook page and look us up. Harry the Brave is next. He's always got something good to talk about, breaking that mainstream media. And we will see you. I will see you in 2 weeks. Lou will see you next week. And as always, you know, stay happy, stay high, and
Stay happy, healthy,
keep
and
the
high.
faith.
Keep the faith.
Keep the
keep
faith.
it moving. We appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
all right.
Bye.
I still got plans that I never spoke, a lot of rhymes that I never wrote, a lot of dreams that I never lived. But if I think about it, then I mean I really did. Just not yet. I used to wish that I was here now. Smooth sailing on my own boat. I'm about to jump up on another plane. Right before I take another tote. It's all love. If you here, you done been through it. It's your business if you into it. If it ain't mine, I ain't into it. So I don't care what you meddling. You can say what you peddling, cause niggas ain't easily influenced. I'm about to take another long drive, cause it helped me get a clear mind. So while you staring at your watch, I'll be looking at the sun. Yeah, I'm moving on real. I used to wish that I was here now. Smooth sailing on my own boat. About to jump up on another plane. Right before I take another tote. I used to wish that I was here now. Smooth sailing on my own boat. About to jump up on another plane. Right before I take another tote. I used to wish that I was here now. Smooth sailing on my own boat. About to jump up on another plane. Right before I take another tote. I used to wish that I was here now. Smooth sailing on my own boat. About to jump up on another plane. Right before I take another tote. I always knew that I'd be here now. Standing on his own too. A move I make is real humble. That's exactly what a man do. You playing games and you only get one turn. So I'm moving on a low too. In the game, roll a whole gram up. In the backwood, no, you got roll too. I used to wish that I was there now. Jumping off another plane. Stepping foot on another planet. Resurrected, but they call me by the same name. So if you know me like your chalice, or you could put it in a blunt too. All praise to the Most High, cause that's exactly what I am too. I used to wish that I was here now. Smooth sailing on my